Most of us would remember at least one doll or stuffed toy that kept a faithful company in our childhood. They not only provide an emotional comfort, but also give an opportunity to learn a bit about forming a relationship and how to interact. Indeed, some children would assume and treat their favorite doll as a living companion with its own individual character. But this adorable children's world takes on a whole different dimension the moment the doll or the stuffed animal actually taking a life. Literally. In traditional pagan or shamanic culture in Korea, people believed any life form or object under the right condition and context could develop a soul of its own. A doll already shaped like a little human and adored and treated like a living individual by a child was considered to be exactly in such a condition and context. For that reason, unlike in many other parts of the world, dolls were not particularly popular choice as toy things in old Korea. But, of course, it's a different story today. We are taking a look at mysterious stories about dolls and stuffed animals coming to life. 5 allegedly true stories from Korea, as always handpicked, translated and narrated by your host, Anthony. I used to love dolls and stuffed animals. I kept a dozen dolls and stuffed toys on the shelf and used to play with them every night. Gradually, I gave each doll an individual character as if they were living friends. My most favorite one was a huge teddy bear. A cousin gave hers to me because she suffered dust allergy. I named it after what was printed on its shirt, "For you." Childish choice, but it sounded chic to my ears then. I kept it on my bed and slept with it every day. My dad wasn't happy about such a huge stuffed animal taking over the space on bed because he feared I might fall down from bed in sleep, but I refused to go to bed without my beloved For You bear. One night, I went to bed with a teddy bear, had a long pillow talk with it. Of course, essentially I was talking to myself before I fell asleep. In the middle of the night, I woke up feeling that my body was slipping over the edge of the bed. Just as my dad feared I was falling off the bed, I instinctively reached out to hold on to something and grabbed the hand of For You of all things. However big a teddy bear is, it wouldn't able to hold back a 11-year-old. But I felt For You's hand tugging and resisting like a human hand would in such a situation. Only after I managed to put myself back on bed safely, I realized what had just happened. For You had rescued me. Of course, it might have been a childish delusion of my groggy mind, but I still believe dolls aren't just dolls, and I wouldn't treat them casually or toss them around. For some reason, I saw my cousin in my dream last night, and it unexpectedly brought back the memory I hadn't been thinking about for the longest time. I think it was when I was about 5. The cousin is about 5 years older than I, and one day she gave me a doll. "Keep it, it's yours." Best way to describe it is it looked close to Blythe dolls, but bigger. Pale face with red lips and big glassy eyes. If it were now, I would describe it a bit creepy, but to my 5-year-old eyes, it was just gorgeous. Apparently, her father bought it for her from Japan. It was meant to speak something too when one pressed the button at the back, but by the time I got it, that function had been already broken. For a time I went everywhere with it, wheeling it around in a doll's pram. Only before bed I propped it up on my piano. But then, when I woke up in the morning, the doll would be found somewhere else, like right next to my pillow or neatly sitting on my desk. At first I thought my mom was putting it back in my room. But even on the day Mom was away on a business trip, the doll was found elsewhere than I had left it. I started feeling uneasy and kept distance to it more and more. And yet, every morning, the doll would be back in my room. I blamed Mom and demanded she should not move around the doll anymore, but she denied she had ever done that. I threw a tantrum that I didn't want the doll anymore, and Mom put it away in the storage. But then, it appeared in my dream for the whole week, and I brought it back in again. But one night when I had to go to bed all alone because both my parents were busy at work, and once again the doll I had left on the piano was found on my bed in the morning, I had it enough, and finally dumped it in the trash. Next time I met the cousin, I complained the doll she gave me kept moving around in the house, and that I threw it away in the end. My mom, sitting next to me, scoffed, clearly not believing what I had to say. The cousin then replied, "I know. That's why I gave it to you." It's from when I was preschool age. A colleague of my dad's gave me a huge Mickey Mouse doll, taller than myself then. I think he got it on his way back from a business trip abroad. I was particularly fond of large stuffed toys. There was an almost 150 long stuffed dolphin, which I used to hug around to sleep, and also equally large white teddy bear. I was very happy to add another company to those two, and I went to bed with all three. But the Mickey Mouse doll was to be thrown out only a week after, because I grew scared of it so much. My parents were of course baffled and confused to see how my initial excitement quickly turned to the inexplicable terror. They asked me what was wrong, but I just shook my head and never told them how I woke up from the noise outside my door, and when I peeped out, that I saw the Mickey Mouse walking on its own 2 feet. I could not think whether it was mere nightmare or real. I was too young and too shocked. Only thing I was sure was I couldn't possibly tell my parents that a doll walked on its feet. I just refused looking at the Mickey Mouse again, and it was eventually thrown out a few days later. What was that I saw that night, really? Recently, I've been eyeing on a cute baby doll. But in the end, I decided not to buy it, for the memory of another doll I had before. Many years ago, I went to see the Sapporo Snow Festival. There was a whole village dedicated to musical boxes. As I looked around to pick one up as a souvenir, a clown doll hanging from the ceiling came to my eyes. It was pretty expensive, and I kept looking around, but something about the sentimental look of the clown would not leave my mind, and in the end I bought it. It was rather large, some 40 centimeters long, clad in a purple clown costume, and looked like an antique European marionette. Inside was the musical box, and once wound up, the clown would move its head side to side to adjust its sentimental melody as its expression, as if the clown was singing the tune itself. I was very happy with it and kept it on my desk so that I could have a look at it whenever I felt like. For a time I must have played the musical box a dozen times a day and would show off to all my friends and relatives who happened to visit me. One aunt called it creepy, but I didn't understand her at the time. But a child's obsession is short-lived. As I returned to school after the winter vacation, I paid less and less attention to the doll. It lost its prime spot on my desk and was moved up on the bookshelf. I even thought about selling it off as it costed me too much. One night, I was sleeping in my bed. Then I heard a clown playing its sad tune. The room was dark, but the hazy light from the street lamp outside was enough to show the clown was indeed moving its head side to side. From where it sat on the bookshelf, it looked as if looking right at me on bed. I felt spooked a bit, but just thought it might be malfunctioning or something, and just went back to sleep. Nevertheless, next morning I turned the clown around so that it could not look over my bed. But a few days later, I found it back to the front again as before. I asked Mom if she changed it as she cleaned the room, but she denied. I just turned it around once again and forgot about it. A few days later, I was woke up again by the familiar sad tune. The clown was facing down on me again, turning its head side to side to the music. In the end, the clown was packed up in the box and was eventually gifted to a nephew. I wonder if it felt sad because I stopped giving it an attention, or if the old superstition could be true that the closer a doll resembles a real human, the more likely it's going to be possessed. Or maybe it was just a bit out of order. Nevertheless, I decided not to buy those adorable but creepily realistic baby dolls after all. I am the first granddaughter for both my mom's and dad's families, so I received really a lot of presents from relatives, especially dolls and stuffed animals, because I'm a girl. My mom used to put them along the bookshelves in the library room, on the higher shelves which I could not reach. She would bring them down when I asked. One day, when I was probably 4 or 5, I must have talked back to Mom one time too much, and she left me in the library room alone, telling me that I couldn't come out until I realized what I did wrong. For some reason, I felt something was off in that room that day, and I was taking a good look around the room when a clown doll which was sitting on the bookshelf along with other dolls suddenly spoke to me in a terrifying voice. You locked me up in here, bored to death. I'm gonna kill ya. I fell on my bum and crawled to the door. Then the rest of the stuffed dolls and animals chimed in that they were going to kill me too. They closed on me, their terrifying chanting getting louder and louder. Despite my desperate effort, the door would not open, and I was too terrified even to scream. Suddenly, the pirate doll jumped between me and the other dolls. It shouted what they were thinking they were doing and started fighting against them. And at that point, I must have fainted. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. Mom came to check on me because I was too quiet for too long and found me on the floor, convulsing. And the clown and other dolls were scattered around, while the pirate doll sitting next to me. Mom wondered how I could bring down all of them from the higher shelves, but I didn't know what to answer. Needless to say, I threw away all the dolls, except for the pirate. It kept my side until it turned to rags. Hi, it's Anthony here, and thank you very much for your listening. I have only sisters, so I used to play with the Barbie dolls with them. And I remember my grandmother giving us an unapproving eye, and sometimes even said she should burn our dolls. As a child, I couldn't understand what her problem with dolls were, but now I think she feared the situation as in today's stories. Fortunately, none of my dolls came to life, I think. This is again turning into a little mini-series, and for the next episode, we'll read another set of weird childhood memories. Children's adventure gone wrong. So stay tuned. If you haven't yet, please consider giving my videos a thumbs up, comment, subscribing to my channel, and sharing it with others. Please. Until the next, stay safe and take care.